I love how you don't even have to take a sip of it. Just the smell and the
smell
feel
is
of the
enough.
coffee.
I might not drink it actually, it's part of my being a power bottom that I said no. I must have a black coffee.
Yeah,
I must.
Well, we're now I feel like we should take the time and at least Google what a power bottom is, or should we just keep the mystery going?
I think the thing about being a power bottom is you always want to have an air of mystery. That's what gives you the power. It's the enigma that gives you the power.
Was a Bing Hitler a power bottom?
Bing Hitler was a character that you know when you start out doing stand up and you have a guitar or you have a big hat or
some
something.
gimmick, right?
Sure. Right, you have to.
Or you're a dwarf.
Just a
whatever,
whatever your
just a
hook is.
Yeah, and you'll get past that pretty soon. And
It's a
go
phase.
on. Yeah, and
Yeah.
but when you're starting out, that was what my thing was. I was kind of frightened to go up there and just say hi. There were no clubs in Glasgow when I started. There were no comedy clubs.
Just bars or what?
Bars and discotheques, and so they would be playing music for people to get drunk and meet prospective sexual partners by, and then they would stop the music and say, "All right, now here's a guy that thinks he's funny." And so they were shouting at me before I got to the microphone.
Right.
They wanted me to die before I even opened my mouth. So I had to have a character who was more aggressive than them and very very kind of outspoken and also in a weird way not threatening, because it was a figure of fun. It wasn't somebody that was going to try and get between you and your boyfriend or your girlfriend, or
Sure.
do you know what I mean? So it was a preposterous character, and I think that helped. There's also a very local thing. It was all local Scottish.
Was it based off of anything or any person? No.
It was I mean, it was kind of like based on all the kind of cheesy Scottish stuff that we used to see on local TV. And then the name, I thought, had a certain marquee value.
Well, it's got one name in there that definitely raises eyebrows.
Right, Bing.
Bing
Bing.
is,
Well,
after Crosby. Right. Yeah.
And
exactly.
that was what that was after Steve Bing, the obscure financier that was the love child father of Elizabeth Hurley's boy.
Well, you don't have to tell our listeners who Steve Bing is. I think we're all familiar.
Yeah,
Come
yeah,
on,
dude.
mean,
Yeah.
No,
don't
it was
patronize us.
No, it was just a thing to kind of draw attention to.
Well,
it.
Glasgow now has there's a comedy festival there, isn't there?
I believe so. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was talking to. There's a friend of mine, Fred Macaulay, who's a Scottish stand-up comedian, and I had a cup of coffee with him last week when I was in Glasgow, and he said they have a comedy club now. They have more than one, actually. They have got like half a dozen, and there's a stand-up scene, and young people want to be stand-up comedians, and I think is a terrible state of affairs. People wanting to be stand-up comedians is a testament.
Yeah.
Right.
Like I always say, it was something I never said while my mother was alive, but if you have a child who wants to be a stand-up comedian, you're a terrible parent. Now, my sister is also a stand-up comedian.
Oh wow.
So my parents had two stand-up comedians.
Jesus.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
epic
So that's
failures.
there you go.
So there's a lot.
We're meandering into Catholic Church territory there, my friend.
There's a lot of pain there.
Was it pretty incredible to go back and perform after like I'm always curious when people go back to the place they started and do
I haven't.
You haven't gone back
You
to
haven't done
Glasgow.
any shows?
I have done any stand-up in Scotland since 1994.
Okay.
Is there a fear there?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, now there is, because I just actually in the car on the way here, I was just talking to somebody about doing the Edinburgh Festival this year and doing a gig at the Edinburgh Festival, which would be the first time, and I still don't know if I'm going to say yes, but I think I probably am.
Oh, please do.
Are you going to be there?
Well, I have only been once with an alumni group from USC, and it was, to this day, the greatest. I went for 6 weeks.
Right.
We did, all these shows at one theater. It was, 20 people, alumni from USC. We built all the sets. We did all these shows, and it was unreal. And I want to go back.
I started there. I used to do it every year.
Yeah.
At the Edinburgh Festival.
Oh, I'd
I
love to
started
go
there
see
in
that.
86 I did the Bing Hitler thing at the Edinburgh Festival.
There you go.
And then
And it crushed, right? It was.
Oh yeah,
it's
it
Talk
was
of the Fest.
huge, yeah. And that's kind of like that propelled me out of the festival, I suppose.
Well, and for people who don't know about the Edinburgh Festival, people are like, oh, so it's like Moon Tower or it's like the Montreal Comedy Festival.
No.
Not
You got
at
everything.
all.
You got every type of performer.
Yeah, Montreal is kind of like a small town kind of weenie roast compared to the Edinburgh Festival.
It truly is.
It really is bizarre. I mean, it's not just stand-ups. There's a lot of stand-ups, but there's like, I remember seeing an act from, I think they were Bulgarian brush jugglers. And they
that sounds like a really good subcategory on Pornhub.
It is actually.
Oh yeah,
it is.
You've seen that brush juggler porn?
Yes.
It's solid. It's solid.
It's actually slang for a promiscuous man who likes women in 1970s attire.
A brush juggler.
Yeah. Oh, that guy, he's a real brush juggler. He's gonna get himself in trouble.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, there's clowns and mimes. I mean, it's just like
but there's good stuff.
Musicals.
Too. Yeah,
I mean, like
there, musicals and plays and recitals, and a cannon gets let off every day at 1 o'clock. I mean, it's awesome.
And from the performer's perspective, when we go to like Montreal, we get our travel paid for, we get our we get our hotel paid for, and we get paid. Yeah, like there's a guarantee. Edinburgh Festival, like they've reached out, and I've had conversations, and they're like, okay, so you pay for your travel, you pay for your hotel, you rent the theater, you sell the tickets, you do everything. I go, okay, well, how do I get paid? They go, you may not.
You may not. That's right. The thing is about it though, it has a certain, it draws so many things. Like the reason I ended up being here and in doing like the Drew Carey show or the late night show all comes from being at the Edinburgh Festival, because it was
no way.
Yeah, because
it was a great boy to get seen. Or
people come and see you, and it used to be. It doesn't happen anymore because of the internet. But it used to be that people from LA and New York, talent scouts and stuff, would. Is that my phone? I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
They would
that was the internet fighting
back.
Yeah, spitting back at you.
I think that they used to go and see people. They used to travel around to go and see different people and nurture talent. Now they just go on YouTube and go, that sucks. He's a brush juggler.
It really has affected, don't you think, like the way that, I don't know, we seed out. I mean, there's obviously it's great the amount of opportunities you can get from getting discovered, but there's something to be said about seeing what you're trying to, gauge live versus.
Yeah. Also, the what I think has been robbed from young performers is the ability to fail. I mean, stand up is a trial and error business. You know that, and so that you want to be able to fail, but there are people in there recording you right now. Right. And so the first time you do a joke, it better work. Yeah. And that, I mean, I'm so glad there weren't, phones and stuff around. Like there weren't even Three Stooges phones around when I started, but there weren't ways of recording. Like I don't want people to know.
What
I was doing.
Yeah. It's always shocking to me when comics that have been doing it like 4 months, 6 months go, "Hey, here's my setup on YouTube." It's like I'm like, "Oh God, take that down."
Yeah, it's
like that's gonna follow you.
It is, and it's a 10-year apprenticeship stand up. I think
at least, yeah.
Yeah, I think
is that when you feel like you got good?
I'm not sure that it was that quick. I'm not sure if I'm prepared to claim that for myself yet either. Yeah. I got comfortable. Like the last tour I just did, I used to start the act every night with, "I've got a great show." It doesn't mean it's going to be a great show, but the simple math tells me that I'm really good at this because I've had a lot of great shows. You've been an audience for what? Like 10 minutes, so fuck you. If this is not a great show, it's your fault.
I like that,
and that
it puts it on them,
right? And that level of confidence doesn't happen right away. If it does, if you have it that early, look, there are some. Eddie Murphy at 18 was like unbelievable. Yeah. But I think for most people, it takes a little. For me, certainly, it took a long time. Some people are faster. Yeah, and when you started off in your show business career, you were in rock bands and you were doing a lot of different things. How did stand-up come into play, and how did that become your focus? Well, it was because of punk rock, really, because punk rock and post-punk, although we didn't really call it that then, but that kind of environment everything was all lumped together. So there were like bands and performance poets and stand-up comedians and brush jugglers, whoever it was. There was always a thing going on, and it was a very kind of experimental and very aggressive atmosphere, but very live atmosphere. And I started doing stand-up really by introducing bands and being in bands.
Okay.
That were part of a bill, and I would go on in between and stuff.
You were a drummer in Exposure, right?
Yeah.
And then I heard you say this in a special that you played the clarinet.
I did, yeah. I played the clarinet very briefly at school.
I knew we were attached at the hip.
Yeah,
and so did I.
Did you quit clarinet because you were getting too much pussy?
That's kind of what happened. I think you.
How dare you, Brad?
Yeah,
I touched a boob in the 8th grade because of the clarinet.
I think that
your own. Yes.
I realized very quickly that the oodly oodly sound wasn't a direction I wanted to go in creatively.
Yeah, it's probably a good choice.
Absolutely.
So
it's not exactly the snake charmer effect.
No, in fact, the opposite. It puts the snake in the basket.
It puts the snake in the basket, or it gets the clarinet again.
What was that experience like, though, to be in because that was your first taste of performing, yeah, and just being on a stage?
I don't really know when I first performed. You got to understand, I was very drunk, for a long, I mean, really bad.
Right.
And so I was performing probably before I knew I was actually officially performing. Like you would be in a club and you'd get on the stage and you'd yell into a microphone, and I think what happened is that I would yell drunkenly in a microphone between bands, and people started laughing, and so it became a sort of thing. Organically, it wasn't like I was going to go up and do something. It's just I was drunk and I wanted to say some things.
What was the type of the shit you were saying?
Well, it would probably be something angry.
Yeah,
I imagine.
I mean, you're in a punk rock band,
right?
It's very anti-establishment.
So it would be very confrontational with the audiences, but of course, people like that when they're young. The young comedy, I think, is very anti-empathetical. That's why and I think that's right. I think that the young people doing that, it's fun and rebellious and stuff. I think as comedians age, if they still, I mean, if you're part of a corporate structure and you're still pretending to be anti-establishment, I think it gets a little
you can't exactly
weird.
Be Kevin Hart and being like this, the system and the rig. Like it's like, hey, you're in it.
Well, I was thinking more of myself doing late night. I was thinking like, yeah, I'm so outrageous right here on CBS. We'll be back after these messages. And like, I don't know.
Now, speaking of the late night thing, was there, and we're going to jump around a little bit, but was there any hesitance on your side? Like when did you go to them? Did they come to you?
They came to me because they were trying out a bunch of different people, and I had just lost a job. I had just made a movie that had gone, at the time, this is how long ago it was, I just made a movie that had gone straight to video, which is a big disgrace. This is an odd movie because I wrote the movie, I started the movie, I directed the movie, and I hate the fucking movie.
Well, it wasn't your fault then.
It's really, I watched the movie and went, this is a terrible film. And what I realized at the end of the film, I thought, wait a minute, I'm not a guy who makes movies. I'm a guy who goes to the movies. Everything's wrong.
Oh, wow.
That has to be kind of like, as a comic, when a joke fails, you can't blame anybody else.
Yeah, there's no one else to blame.
It's just you. But so when you're in that, when you're involved that much in the movie, you just went,
it sucked, and it happens. And so what happened was that I'd done that. I was at a low point in my life. I was going through a divorce, so I was flat broke. And then CBS said, do you want to try out for this job? And I said, yes, because I had a young son. And I wanted to be in town to be a dad to him. I didn't want to be on the road, and I didn't want to be, going away to make. I was working a lot in independent film then, which doesn't pay that much, and you're always out of town.
Right. So you were looking for something to kind of keep you local.
In town. So it was either that or a podcast, but there was no podcasts back then.
Wow. Yeah. Had you ever, some people grow up dreaming to be hosting a late night show.
No, I reject all of that. Even now, I don't understand why anyone would want to do that. It seems like wanting to be a television presenter. It's like, I think being a late night host, for me, it was like becoming a realtor. No, I didn't set out to do it. It's just it was handy, and they would put me on a park bench. It's like
side of a bus.
Yeah, I didn't aspire to it, and I still don't. Well, not that I'm doing it anymore, but I liked it. I'm proud of that show, and I'm glad I did it.
Oh, yeah.
I enjoyed doing it.
You changed the game.
I hope so.
I think so,
a
and
little bit.
I think that probably contributes to the success of it and what you were doing on the show is that it was not an afterthought or something you didn't want to do, but you kind of went into it with not such an enormous amount of pressure to like fulfill what you'd always dreamt it would be for yourself, right? So you were kind of like, oh, well, let's just see what happens.
And it's also that there is a certain amount of corporate hypocrisy that comes with these. When I was doing it, it was almost exclusively men. It's evening up a little bit now, but the idea that you pretend to be Johnny Carson or David Letterman. I don't know why you would pretend to be someone else unless someone was paying you to pretend to be someone else, like an acting job. Yeah, but I did. I guess I pretended to be someone else a little bit.
Well, but you did your own thing in terms of, especially the monologue, like that. It was a very conversational monologue. It wasn't. So let's see what's happening in the news today.
It wasn't scripted.
I couldn't really. I mean, I tried at first. If you look at the very early shows, I'm sure you can find them on the internet. But that'll
be their slogan at some point when things have really taken a turn.
Hey, join us on the internet. But at first, I got terrible reviews, and it was really awkward because I was reading jokes off of cue cards and stuff.
Yeah.
The real reason that show happened wasn't really anything to do with me having the balls to make it different. It was more about the fact that David Letterman protected me, and Dave owned the time period. So it was a weird thing. It'll never happen on TV ever again. It was just a weird thing. Very briefly, it's kind of boring business, but it explains why it happened. In the 90s, when Dave and Jay were fighting over the Tonight Show, in order to get Dave to go to CBS offered him the ownership of 2 hours of late night. So Dave owned his time slot and owned the time slot after it. That's very unusual.
Wow.
So he could put on, if he wanted to put up just stupid pet tricks, which is basically what my show was, for an hour, he could do that.
He could do that
because it was his slot.
Right. So he owned the real estate.
That's insane.
So and of course when Dave went, that went away.
Yeah.
Right.
So I couldn't, if even although I decided to go, even if I hadn't, I would have still had to go because Dave wouldn't be there protecting me, and then I'd be at the mercy of CBS, and then that wouldn't have gone well. I don't think.
And then your career would be down in the toilet, and you'd be reduced to doing podcasts.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Wait, so he had to sign off on you?
Who, Dave?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think. He did. Yeah, at the beginning.
Was there a audition, like a screen test for?
No, they tested out 4 guys. Well, they tested out a lot of people actually, but they boiled it down to 4 guys. It was D.L. Hughley, me, Michael Ian Black, and another guy whose name I forget. But
Mario Lopez.
No, he's a smart guy actually. Yeah. I feel bad not remembering his name because he was good.
Oh.
But there was 4 of us, and we each got a week of doing the late night show, and then Dave, Peter Lasalle, and a guy called Les Moonves. I don't know if you've heard of him.
Yeah, for sure.
They,
nice guy, very friendly.
Oh man. So anyway, they made the decision of who got the job.
So thank you, Les Moonves, is what you're trying to say.
That's not what I'm saying.
That's not what he said, Brad.
So Craig Ferguson owes his life.
Do you remember that week of shows and like what your prep was like, what your mind was like? What did you feel?
Yeah, I really wanted the gig.
Yeah, of course.
I really wanted the gig.
Once you get that close, right? You're like,
yeah, and I was excited by the idea of because it was a life-changing thing. I mean, you go from like trying to make a thing happen there and trying to make a thing there, and all of that goes away. You just go to work, which for the first couple of years was great. And then very slowly, like a Chinese water torture, it starts to make you crazy. Can you even say Chinese water torture? I don't know.
Well,
just like
on the day of Chinese New Year that we're recording this.
Yeah,
Gong Hei Fat Choi, by the way.
Yeah, and the same to you. But
it's the year of the pig.
Yeah. But
why do you know that?
My wife is Chinese.
Okay.
Is she really?
Yeah, that's yeah. We had to build an altar this morning and pour whiskey out to her ancestors.
Is that true?
Yeah,
That's adorable.
That is
I know,
adorable.
right? And
Boy,
then-
married life isn't that bad.
and then she gets to say, "Hey, ancestors! Not only do I have whiskey, but I have a dwarf.
You know what's
We get
interesting?
to offer you a dwarf."
Is that an offering?
You get sacrificed?
Apparently,
Do they want that?
My ancestors were dwarfs and drank whiskey.
I like your ancestors.
Yes, yes, you probably would.
All the battle axes.
Yeah.
Did you miss the consistency? Like Drew Carey's show was, I mean, real steady, consistent, right? Like that's
Yeah.
And so when that stops, is this the time that you're speaking of that you're like, I need, like you said, the Chinese war torture term to describe kind of just that
Well,
lack
the
of.
Drew Carey show was a different thing because I was working as an actor in a show which you're part of a troupe, I guess, and it's a much more kind of collegiate feel about
Yeah.
it, and it's nice. It's a nice thing. Stand up or late night was a kind of at first I wasn't aware of it because like most I think probably all of us that do this kind of thing, there's this an element of narcissism, I think probably,
Sure.
and so I was very attracted to that at first. Like the show's got your name on it, and everybody, kisses your ass when you walk in and stuff
Right.
like that. But very quickly it becomes isolating, and over a period of time it got extremely strange. I remember when Seth started on an NBC, he called me up, and he's such a nice guy. I said,
Yeah.
"Congratulations, but you're gonna go crazy," and he said, "No, I don't think I'll go crazy." And I spoke to him a year ago. He still hasn't gone crazy yet, but I'm holding out hope.
I put 20 on red.
Yeah. I think
You're
he'll
gonna be
go
right
crazy.
in the long
Everybody
run.
else goes crazy. Everyone's gone crazy. I don't know anyone who does that that's not crazy.
Well, it's such an insane line of work when you break it down and think that you work so hard to create this thing that is on air and then it's gone.
yeah.
It's just gone, and now on to the next game.
that was kind of the joy of it. The actual performing of it is fine.
Yeah.
That's great.
You
And
enjoyed the
I love
making bits and figuring out.
right.
Like,
I love that. The interviews became very tiresome because a lot of the people especially over time, a lot of the people I wanted to talk to, you figure out who your favorites are,
Yeah,
but they're
sure.
not available every night. So you've got who's on the new WB sitcom and
Yeah.
stuff, and you're like, great, and that gets a little old.
Yeah.
But the difficulty was not doing the show. The difficulty was dealing with the fact that what happens if you're in a position like that, you become HR. My sister's having a baby. My brother needs me to go to Vermont and whatever it is, and you spend your whole life like being the HR guy, and
Yeah.
I'm not cut out for that.
Yeah.
And also the level of corporate fake bonhomie is difficult for me because I didn't go to an American college. I don't know how to do all that shit. Like fist bumps and fucking chest pumps and all that.
And that's the name of your next book.
Yeah,
Fist bumps and chest humps. I don't know.
yeah, fist bumps and chest bumps. That's a very, very good idea for a film that I accidentally am going to produce.
Well, based on your track record, it's going to be amazing.
Well, and you even say in your book, Riding the Elephant, your new book,
Yeah.
which is available when this comes out everywhere.
Yeah, right.
Barnes & Noble, Amazon.
Amazon would be the way.
That's
I'd
the
go.
spot, I feel like, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that's where people go.
Yeah.
Barnes & Noble, I guess, if you don't have a computer.
In which case, why are you listening to a podcast?
Yeah, that's right. Oh no, they have a website. I'm
Yeah.
sure Barnes.
Oh,
Noble.
yeah.
yeah.
But you do mention that you dropped out of, I mean, the book is incredible. Do you feel like this is your most, like,
It's the best.
honest person, like some of the stories you were telling in here about losing your virginity and, like,
Yeah.
dropping out of school at 16, like...
Yeah, I think there's a certain amount of freedom that comes with. It's one of the few kind of nice things about aging a little bit. Is like I really don't give a fuck now. I mean,
so awesome.
So the idea of partly I think it's like at the end of Shawshank Redemption when Morgan Freeman's character all the way through the movie they're like he's trying to get parole and he's trying to get parole and he's trying to say what these guys want.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the movie he's like, fuck it, do what you fucking like. I don't fucking care. You put me in jail, don't put me in jail. I'm fucking 70. I don't care. And they give him parole. I feel like that's the metaphor. That you get to a point where you think I don't fucking look, you know who I am. You're going to read it if you like me, and you're going to hate it if you don't like me anyway, and you're not going to read it. So, like, there's a band. You heard of a band called Coldplay?
Yeah, they've done a few things.
Right. Okay. I'm not a great fan of that band. I quite like some of their tunes, but their singer, Chris Martin.
Yeah.
I saw an interview with him which I really liked, which he said, "I don't make music for people who don't like Coldplay. What's the point? I just make people for music who like Coldplay." Yeah. And I kind of feel like I write for people that you know who I am. You read it or don't read it. I don't care.
That's a healthy attitude.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah,
but it's not one that's possible when you're young and you're making your bones.
Did you have that when you during the show? I mean, did that contribute to kind of the freeform style, like
towards
the interview?
The end.
Like
the end,
that's what I mean. And you mentioned having to have a lot of guests on that you didn't want to, and I apologize.
No, well, you were the worst. You were the one that tipped me over. I was like,
when people say, "Why did Craig Ferguson leave late?"
Now you know.
You thought in your career you could avoid one guest without talking about his Wolverine past.
Yeah,
it's on page 172 of the book, actually.
The goddamn Adam Ray chapter.
The goddamn
ruined
Adam Ray
my
chapter.
life with this relentless ambition.
No, but like, when did the start? Like, when you would rip up the cards before each interview, did that? I mean, that definitely again, like, which is why so many people loved your style. Is I mean, Sandra Bullock would tell me this. She was just like, "Oh, I know that I get to be present the whole time. I can just like have a conversation." But like, not everybody has those skill sets to be able to hang with you like that. And so, is that more exhausting for you to have to?
Well, I think what it was that a lot of times when people try and do stuff like that is to try and score points over the person they're interviewed, and this is very popular right now. If you do press for any kind of thing, and you have to go and sell your shit. I mean, it's rude not to, but people will ask you things to try and set you up in a clickbaity way or try and pull. And
what do you hate about James Corden?
Right, like that kind of thing, and that I never did. I wasn't interested in making anybody look bad. Yeah. And if they looked bad, it was on them, but I wouldn't help them look that way. I always felt that my job as a host was to do exactly what a host does if you're the host of a party. Have a good time. Do you have enough cheesy nibbles? Do you want to watch the Brush Smuggler video? Whatever.
Again?
Yeah. I mean, whatever you want to do. I felt like it was my job to make people feel comfortable.
That's a great approach.
Yeah.
And I feel that maybe particular areas of the media that or of our world, I suppose, that would look down on that and lacking a certain amount of edge, but I don't really care. I think the idea of edge for edge's sake is adolescent and it's just silly and churlish. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, but I think that policy and that practice is more edgy because the average late night show, hell, every answer is so scripted. When they try to act like it's we're just having a conversation and then they say, "Oh, so you just got back from a trip to Miami?
Yeah.
How was that?"
Well, to be fair, I think that happens when the hosts are like, "This guy's a dud," and I just got to read out the questions, or this person's not. But I think all of the guys who are doing it, and the truth is, I don't watch it. I didn't watch it before, and I don't watch it now.
Yeah.
But whenever I've been doing late night shows, I've noticed that whoever I've been on with, if they feel like it's going well, they rip up the cards in their mind. They start talking.
Yeah.
And that's really what they do. I mean, if it's a good guest, you can do that. They're just protecting themselves from dull guests.
Who are some of your? I mean, obviously, I think it's clear to say, like, Robin Williams, like, people in that category seemed the most fun because they just were so willing to play with you at any moment.
Yeah, Robin, I don't know if you're aware of this, but Robin had a pretty quick comedic mind. So, did he? Yeah. So it was no real chore to. I loved Robin. Robin was my friend, and I loved him. And
that matters when you're out there, yeah.
Yes, of course, it matters everywhere. And there were people who I love talking to, and whenever I mention somebody, I always forget to mention another person. But there were most people, and I mean, I'm not kidding, like 95% of the people were great. Really, they are.
Yeah.
Because, once they get to the point where they realize he's not going to try and make me look like a douche.
Yeah.
Most people are not. Like, most people driving around are okay.
Yeah.
It's
just the four assholes.
Right. It's the one person takes a shit in the pool and now everybody has to get out. You know what I mean?
In my defense.
Yeah.
The kiddie pool was closed.
I really had to go.
Yeah.
And I think it was a good story for people.
Yeah, whatever your excuse is. Everybody had to get out of the pool.
One person that you had on a lot, who I found out during doing a little research for this interview that you did some work with early in your career when you came over, was Betty White.
Yes, yeah. Betty was the first person I worked with when I came to America. It was
your first show, right?
Right, yeah. I did a show called Maybe This Time, which was one of those awful mid-90s sweater over your shoulders type shows. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you know what, Daisy? Relationships are hard. Like one of those awful shows.
Will it work out? Maybe this time.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Men and women are just so different.
Yeah. I don't know, you kids. Things are so different to when I was a teen. And it was an awful, awful show, but it had some people in it who were lovely. It was Betty's first job after the Golden Girls was finished, and she was fantastic.
Yeah.
And another person who was just lovely on it was Marie Osmond.
Yeah.
And Marie was like not at all what I expected. It's the weirdest thing. I don't know if I'll get in trouble for saying this, but I've never met a Mormon I didn't like.
Yeah.
It's the
Why would you get in trouble for saying that?
Well,
it's
because
a positive thing.
Yeah, but it's not edgy. But it's funny because I really don't have any truck with that with whatever they believe.
Yeah,
sure.
But I've never met an individual Mormon that didn't go, well, that's a very pleasant.
Yeah.
Easy person to get along with.
It's kind of strange where you can make fun of the religion and make fun of the beliefs, but then when you meet the people, you're like, oh well, if everyone just believed that and that's how they turned out, great.
Yeah, listen, if that's what makes everybody good, I think we should all wear the magic underwear. Fuck it. Just fuck it. Let's do it.
Absolutely.
Did Betty give you any advice or tips? Obviously, she's coming off of GG, so that's
GG.
That's what we call it in the hood.
By the way, if
she's
people
an
were
OGG.
if people were watching Golden Girls in the Hood, that makes me very happy.
Yeah, I hope so.
I think what Betty was she had a wild mind and a sharp eye, and she was funny and interesting. She's my friend. She's still my friend.
Yeah.
And
96.
Yeah.
Just turned 96.
Yeah.
She was trending on Twitter, and it scared the hell out of me.
Yeah, it probably scared her too. But I mean, when I met her, she was a strip of a girl in her early 70s. You know? But
that's got to be insane for your first project to have like a Marie Osmond and a Betty White, who are literal show business lifers.
Yeah.
Where it's since day one, it seems that they've
I was very blessed at the time with the awful narcissistic ambition of a young man, so I didn't really worry about it. I think now I would worry about it. You know, that I think I would be like, wow, this person's really clever and talented. But back then, I was only thinking about me. It's before my kids were born, so I didn't think. I was like, oh, here's me. I wonder if my eyebrows look great. You know?
You've done a few different accents just on this podcast. The Drew Carey accent. It's not your normal accent.
No. It was what I did was. The story of how I got that job is very strange. I auditioned for the part of the Hispanic photographer on Suddenly Susan, the Brooke Shields TV show.
Oh my God!
And what happened was that there was some kind of clerical error, because I go into this, I'm like, I look at the sides for the audition, and it's Antonio, the photographer, handsome, Hispanic, and I'm like,
nope.
Okay. So I
my agent is ambitious.
Right. I wasn't going to go to the audition because this is crazy.
Plays the clarinet.
Right.
Okay.
Oodly.
I got a shot.
So I go in I'm waiting outside the audition. Yeah. I'm just new in town. I'm still on my work permit, and all the other guys all look like, handsome and handsome and Mexican and stuff. I think there might have been a couple of Italians there, if I'm honest.
Probably. Just very tan.
Yeah.
Very tan.
And I go in, and I didn't know what to do, so I did this terrible Speedy Gonzales type voice. Hey, Susan, and stuff. And they were like, "Oh my god, this is awful!"
Yeah.
But they were all laughing, and I knew it was awful, and I was laughing too. So at the end of it, the casting director said, "Well, obviously you can't do this job." And I'm like, "I know."
Yeah.
But we got talking. He said, "But they are looking for a guy on the Drew Carey show. Can you do an English accent?" And I said, "See."
Oh my god!
Then I couldn't really do an English accent, but I figured that was fine because all the English actors that play Scottish people can't do Scottish accents, so I felt like there was balance. And now I can do it. I'm the owl in Winnie the Pooh, for goodness sake. There's nothing more English than that.
Yeah, that's insane.
That's funny, isn't it?
That's incredible.
Yeah.
What I mean.
Oh, do come along, Pooh.
Oh,
isn't that fun?
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, you've done so many voices, but like, is this one like just extra special?
What, the owl?
Yeah.
The owl was, I only did it in one movie, but it was Disney did this version of Winnie the Pooh, but it was all hand-drawn animation. It was a beautiful movie. Mm-hmm. It is a beautiful movie, and they got some great people in it. And then they released it the same day as the last Harry Potter movie. So I don't know how well it did. But it's a beautiful movie.
Did you do any character research for that?
What, to be the owl?
Yeah.
Sure. I stayed up all night most of my 20s and 30s.
Oh shit!
I was totally nocturnal.
Yeah, absolutely. We've had a few guests that have done the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and I love hearing the stories from that. You did it in 2008.
Yeah, last year of George W. Bush.
So now, are you going in there? Are you like? What's your mindset before a gig like that?
You know, it was funny. I remember that one because you would. It's like doing a corporate gig, right? Mm-hmm. It's like
Except for the most powerful man in the world, but yeah, just like that.
Yeah, well, Dick Cheney was there. That's true. Right? There was a thing. The one regret I have about that is there was a joke that I didn't do that I wish I had done.
Was it on the tip of your tongue and you just made a quick audible?
What I did was I was going to do the joke and I ran it by a couple of people and they said, you probably shouldn't do that joke. And I wish I'd done that joke. Basically, now it would be tame because
sure.
Washington is a garbage fire.
Yeah.
But back then there was still there was a modicum of politeness and decency.
Yeah.
And what I was going to say when I got up, I said it's such an honor to be at the podium here with George W. Bush, Dick Cheney, Rumsfeld, all these people that were there. It's great to be in this company. These people will not be together again until the trial. And I didn't do the joke.
Oh, it's a good one.
It's a good joke. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, but I didn't do it.
Did you?
And my career went downhill shortly afterwards.
Now, I feel like in your stand-up and on the show and everything, like you're so, you take risks and you're pretty fearless. So what got in your way in that moment?
It was less to do with fear and more to do with politeness.
Okay.
It was...
there's still room for that.
What happened was it's weird because politically, George W. Bush and I are not on the same page at all.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I never have been. But beforehand, there's this little green room area and everyone's standing around. And at this point, I'm still thinking I'm going to do this joke.
Yeah.
And everybody clears out, and the only people that are left in the room are me and George Bush.
Oh, God.
Right.
And we're standing, and for about 15 minutes, we just shoot the shit.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, I can't do it. I like him. He's nice.
He tugged at your heartstrings?
He's a nice guy.
Yeah.
He's a nice guy. And
he's like, what my favorite movie is? Marley and Me.
Yeah,
like,
that kind of guy.
This guy's
right,
a good guy.
It's like, you're like, it would be like slapping, a child or something.
Yeah.
You just can't. And I just felt he was so friendly and nice, and I just thought, I can't do it. And also, I thought, my rationale at the time was, what are you going to do? You're going to change the world here you're going to say something mean to this president who's on the way out anyway.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You like the rest of your set, yeah? I mean,
yeah.
So it's not like that one joke was going to...
Yeah, I had everything else going on anyway. It was fine. It's an odd audience, though, because you look out, it's like a dream.
Yeah.
Like a real dream, because it's like Pamela Anderson is there.
And
Wolf
then Blitzer.
And Salman Rushdie. It's...
At the same table?
And the Jonas Brothers and Kofi Annan. You know what I mean? It's like nuts.
It's really... you have essentially the full... spectrum. It's not like when you go and do a gig. For instance, you're coming to the Ace Hotel in April.
Oh,
to
you
do
thank you
stand-up.
very much for that.
Yeah, we'll plug it.
By the way, that venue is incredible.
Is it? I haven't played LA ever. This is the first time I've ever played LA. Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna love it.
Well, like you might look out at that audience and say, okay, Los Angeles showbiz, like you might be able to get at least a grip of what the type of people that might be in the audience.
Right.
But doing the White House Correspondents Dinner, like you said, it's everything.
Yeah, they're all there.
So,
but what was interesting about it, weirdly enough, that's where my friendship with Larry King started, was that night.
No kidding.
Yeah, because I used to make fun of Larry a lot on the TV show, and I still did afterwards, and I will still do it now.
Hey, how you doing?
But he was so funny, and I don't know if you know Larry, but I mean, you should have him here. He's hilarious.
I've
met him one time, and I watched him do stand-up comedy
at the Kevin and Bean
really?
April Foolishness show.
He's hilarious.
He seems like, and he has comedian. I mean, he seems like he loves comedians.
Yeah, he does, and he's got chops, and he's. I didn't know he was a wise guy. Do you know he was a wise guy?
No.
Yeah, he did a little time back in
some
Florida.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's a Larry King mugshot
Oh
somewhere.
yeah, you Google it. It's
In
on
suspenders.
The internet. Yeah. No, he's Larry did a little bit of stir back in the day.
So there is a very social element to the Correspondents Dinner, like after and pre.
Yeah.
So it's the party element is there.
I don't know about now. This is 2008, so smartphones are just beginning to ruin the world, but they haven't quite done it yet. You know.
What was the holy shit? There's his mugshot.
Larry King's mugshot.
Yeah, Larry's mugshot. It's pretty beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is that how did he open the conversation? Did he break the ice with? I used to do time, and he
No. He's like, hey, cut it out. I see I can't sleep. I watch your show. What are the fucking stuff you're doing about me?
I'm like, all right, come on, Larry. Larry was the only guy though. When I quit late night, Larry called me up at home and he said, "Don't do this." I said, "Larry, I'm done." He said, I really enjoyed the show. I really want you to stay on the air. I'm like, Larry, I'm done, man. If you'd have stayed on CNN, I'd have stayed on CBS, but we're done.
He said, I wanted to stay on CNN.
I just love that. I just love that Larry seems to have that healthy attitude of, why would I ever stop working? Everyone tries to, like, why wouldn't you retire? And he goes, why?
Yeah, but it's not work if you love it.
Yeah, and he gets up, he works, he gets to.
He's genuinely curious about people as well. He really wants to know.
Even at his age, he likes to he likes to talk to people. He likes to get to know, and like you say, he's curious. And I think nowadays that's so refreshing, because so many people get locked in their information bubbles with only hearing things that they agree with, that I don't think a lot of people are curious anymore in terms of getting to the side.
I've developed a trick for this.
What's that?
I have removed the browser application from all of my. I'm not on social media, and I haven't been for about a year. But I now don't look at any media at all, none. What? And you know what's weird? Everything still reaches you. Because I interact with people, and people say, "Did you hear that thing?" I'm like, "No, what happened?" And they go to that thing. Oh, really?
And people love to be the messenger for information.
Yeah. So you just talk, and as long as you're prideful, you say, "No, I don't know anything about that." Then people will tell you all about it.
Now, do you have a filter, or do you like audition certain, people that are?
No, I'll listen to anyone. So I'll listen to the cab driver, or or my wife. Not necessarily in that order. I'll listen to everyone. And my kids are, well, one of my boys is too young for that stuff, but my kids are attached to it, and my wife is a member of the human race and interacts in the modern world, but I don't.
Yeah. What was the active reason for that?
I realized that it was making me feel bad. I think that I would go on Twitter. Twitter was the absolute worst point of it. Like, I would go on there, and some fucking guy in Holland wouldn't like a joke I did 3 years ago that he found on YouTube. And I thought, I can't fucking cope with this.
Yeah.
And then I realized that Twitter is a chat room. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, you probably are aware of this, but I'm way too fucking cool to be in a chat room. So
you are.
I can't do that.
You're too cool to be here.
Yeah, I know.
And we're honored that you are.
Well, because I'm here ironically, so it's fine.
Very punk rock. Back to the roots.
There you go. I'm like, it's fine.
Yeah.
Now, what I think it became. what I'm very grateful to social media and the way that the media is that now I feel under absolutely no obligation to tell the truth in any interview ever. Because nobody fucking else does. So it's like, he didn't tell the truth. Well, what am I? Like, nobody tells the truth. Yeah. Why am I suddenly in trouble?
Yeah, I've had people come up to me and they say, hey, that story that you tell in your act, is that true? I go, no.
No, it's not true.
I'm
not even a dwarf. Shut up. I'm 6'4". Leave me the fuck alone.
This is a special drink that I drink before and just shrink down, Gulliver style. And then
that's
I
right.
do my show and then I go back out.
I think that was a sitcom in the 90s, actually.
Gulliver style?
Yeah. Big John, Little John.
Yeah.
It was. It was a thing.
Wait, now I have to Google
that.
No,
Big John, Little John. And a guy shrank down into being little. I don't think he became little. You know, like.
Wait, this is a real thing? You're not joking?
No, man. I always tell the truth.
What the fuck is this?
Yeah, see, told you.
Big John, Little John is an American Saturday morning situation comedy.
There you go.
Produced by Sherwood Schwartz.
There you go.
Get him on the phone.
I think he's Muslim.
Okay.
Which started...
Saw him at Temple.
Wow.
Wait, who starred in it?
Series. Oh, it was on BBC One.
Okay.
That's why.
Time for a remake.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Who do we get to play
John.
Big John?
I don't know, man.
The Rock?
I'm retired from that. Betty White.
Yeah.
Larry King.
Let's get Larry King to be Big
I
John.
am Big John.
Brad in suspenders would be amazing.
I mean, yeah.
Are there different sets of nerves for like hosting a celebrity name game versus the late night show versus playing Carnegie Hall, like the
No nerves
correspondents?
at all. Never. No. Never.
Did your nerves go away pretty?
I don't have it.
I believe you.
I really don't have it. I really don't. I'm as comfortable talking to Radio City at Full House as I am right here, right now. Doesn't matter.
Why? How do you?
I don't know. I think you have to be dead inside in some way.
Okay. You're a
But-
comic. I think.
No, I think what it is that you get to a point where you realize that the people are there to see you, and they want you to be good.
Yeah.
And also, I don't know if you did it when you guys probably Googled me before I got here, right?
A
Or
few
did
times.
Wikipedia or something.
Yeah, you got some.
I mean, it's
weird,
pretty extensive.
Yeah.
You got some weird stuff on Pornhub.
Well, yeah, brush smugglers.
Yeah.
But I worked for a little while with Mick Jagger. He's
Yeah.
a very good performer. I don't know if you know him. He's in a band.
He's in Coldplay.
Yeah. He's in, I think it's Coldplay.
He's in Warm
But
Paws.
he used to say this thing about performance. I was working. We were in Istanbul, and he just done a show at this stadium in Istanbul. It's a fantastic show. And I said to him after, I went, wow, it's so weird because we were talking just beforehand and he was like normal. Then he went out and he was Mick the fuck Jagger in front of 100,000
Doing
Turkish
all
people.
the Mick Jagger moves.
Oh my God. And then he
Yeah.
came back and he was like sweating a bit, but he started like, yeah, it was nice. I had a good time.
Yeah.
And I said, it's so weird to see that. And he went, well, no one ever paid money to see someone who was shy. And I went, yeah, that's right. That's what it is. People want to be entertained. That's why they're there.
Yeah.
So are you going out kind of being worried about it? You're robbing these people of what they came for.
I love that you do the Tyrannosaurus arms when you're
Well,
doing
you
the Mick
got,
Jagger
well,
impression.
that's it. Like that's the only way I can get
Yeah.
the voice achieve the actual sound is by doing a little wiggly arms in front.
That's just my
He's
arms
got
normal.
well, what
Like that's me full
what
extension.
Mick has got? Legs, he's Big John. Arms, he's Little John.
Okay. You got a half each.
There's something I want to read. It's one of my favorite things I read in the book, Riding the Elephant, which you can get on Amazon.
Or Barnes and Noble.
Barnes and Noble.
yeah,
Let's
Barnes
not
and
leave them
Noble.
behind.
Yeah.
But I want you to speak to this, and I'm and I have a couple follow-up questions on just writing your third book. How the process differed this time. But you wrote in the chapter titled "The Festival" that I also had a belief in the myth of inane talent, that being born with a skill is better than working hard to develop and nurture your gifts. I'm still not quite sure where this came from, but I still see some traces of it in some Glaswegians
Glaswegians, people from Glasgow.
of today. It seems paradoxical in a town where hard work is revered, but there is a notion that if you have to be diligent and industrious and persistent at a creative venture, then you must not be very good. In sport, too, there is a belief that if you have to train too hard, you are fundamentally inferior to athletes for whom the prizes come easier.
Wow.
Fuck.
There is that kind of lie that to be Mozart, is somehow more noble than being a Beethoven. I mean, maybe that's a bad example because I don't know anything about Beethoven, and I just saw the movie Amadeus. But what I mean is that why is it okay to be gifted as opposed to diligent? I don't understand why that would be why that would be a thing, but it is. It's that whole thing right now of, you know, with the social media and the internet and the way people present themselves as having the phrase that I've heard, which I find wild, is they live the luxury lifestyle. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about, man? What are you talking about? You're an electrician. There's nothing wrong with being a fucking electrician.
No.
But why are you talking about, like, I'm taking a private jet to Cabo? No, you're not, man. You're in Van Nuys, renting an airport for half an hour, or renting an airplane for half an hour to get your photograph taken in it, which people do.
Yeah, it's frightening that
the idea of projecting an image of somebody that you're not in order to please or to create a situation that you'll never see. And what I mean by that is, whenever I start to write anything, I have to fight this thing that comes up. I'll write the first line of a new book, and then the next sentence that comes into my head is the first line of my acceptance speech for the award that I'm going to get for the movie adaptation of the book. And what I have to do is remove that despicable, narcissistic, some kind of masturbatory gland that fires in my head, and go back to working in the moment that I'm in and doing a good job. And I think a lot of people, particularly right now, get caught up in the idea of the result of a life rather than a life lived. Yeah. And that I don't understand. And I say it having been guilty of it myself.
Sure.
You start thinking, well, people should see you as what? What should they see? I remember once getting into an elevator at CBS. Weirdly, it was a Les Moonves story. Les Moonves was the head of CBS at the time, and I was in the elevator. I was carrying a bunch of fucking boxes and bullshit to my office, and he get in with 5 fucking executives all saying yes to him and different things, and I'm his late night guy with fucking standing with my boxes on my own and like wearing a pair of shorts and stuff, and he said, Craig, you should really behave more like a star. I said, all right, then you carry the fucking boxes, Les. But I don't understand it. What does a star behave like? Like a fucking jackass? Is that how you behave like a star? What is that? Yeah, I don't understand it.
It seems like that's the expectation. When it's weird when like you go to a green room or something and they say, hey, do you want anything in your green room? You're like, I don't know, some water.
Yeah,
that's fine.
And then the next time you go there are 25 different types of water there. That's the fucking weird thing about it.
Yeah,
like stuff would happen in late night. Like I'd see them painting a room, and I go, I thought that room just got painted. And going, yeah, but you come in the other day and said, oh, I like the color. I don't like that color as much as I like the other color. And people would paint the fucking room. They go, you don't need to paint the room. What the fuck is wrong with you? It's like, no, Craig doesn't like that. And then people, in order to make themselves important, will say things like, Craig doesn't like that color. You got to change that color, or he'll go crazy. The one that I always hear is, don't look at them in the eye. Do you ever hear that about people?
It's so insane.
Yeah, Letterman, don't look at Letterman in the eye. And that's the one I heard about. Don't look Dave in the eye when you meet him. And so when I first met Dave, I could see him going, what the fuck's wrong with this guy? It's like not looking at him.
Well, and that's what you find out is there's just these people
just make up bullshit.
They're just making it up, or they're so scared to lose their jobs, or they don't want anything to go wrong, so they're overly cautious. And they overly correct. And it turns out these people are just people.
Well, for the most part, I mean, what the great lesson from the guests in late night for me was Kurt Russell. And Kurt Russell's a goddamn movie star.
He is, right?
And been one for years.
Yeah, I mean, he's like Kurt Russell. When Kurt Russell, he did that recent Netflix thing where he played Santa.
Yeah.
You think, how much money do you think fucking Netflix had to give Kurt Russell to play Santa?
Hey, Kurt, they want you to play Santa.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
Yeah.
It's $1 gazillion. Ho, ho,
ho. Done and done.
But he came in, like he drove in his own car, and like he's in the green room. He said, hey, is there anyone around here I can smoke a cigarette? And he said, yeah, outside. And he goes outside, smokes a cigarette, and he's polite to people, and he's just a guy, and he's on his own. He doesn't have an entourage.
Yeah.
And you go, well, that's a star.
Yeah.
Kurt Russell is, by anybody's standard, a movie star, right?
Absolutely.
So what does a star behave like? I don't understand. Like a decent human being behaves like a decent human being, and an asshole behaves like an asshole. And sometimes I've been both, and sometimes I've been neither. You know what I mean? And I think most people are like that. The creating this myth for yourself, like on your Facebook or your Tweety Pie or whatever fucking
that's coming.
page, you know, whatever, you know, your Instagram feed, like creating this idea of yourself that isn't you. That's, I mean, isn't there, like, they're coming up with all sorts of, you know, research that's saying that this is leading to depression, suicidal tendencies amongst people who cannot match this idea of a life that doesn't exist anyway.
They're projecting what they want people to see,
right?
And it's like
it doesn't even exist anyway. It's nuts.
They're depressed that they're not living up to the life that they're putting out there.
That's like being depressed that you're not in a cartoon. That doesn't make any fucking sense. I mean, look, we've all taken strong acid and lived in a cartoon for a while. I admit it.
Yeah,
but it's not like that.
Right.
Do you think all this perspective that you, as a result of just all the experience that you have obtained over the years, I mean, like, you know, you just, I feel like, have lived a life, not only professionally, but in life, and for you to be able to speak so candidly and articulately about everything, and you have in the book, Riding the Elephant, go get it.
At Barnes & Noble.
Do you feel like, are there certain things that you feel like, man, I was such a tumultuous time in your life that you're like, God, that was, I don't like to think about that, but now you get to a place to where you can reflect and go, well, God, that definitely, you know, contributed to who I am, and so I'm glad I went through that.
Do you know what I think it is? I think it is that I'm no longer young. And when I was young, like everyone who is young, I've thought it was going to last forever. And it doesn't. And in the past few years, I've lost some friends, you know, and you see people going, it's fast, man. It's fucking fast. And then I realized, do I just want to spend the rest of my time clogged up in fucking old ideas about what I thought when I was 25 or 15?
Yeah. Like
I realized, you know, I was making decisions professionally to piss off the theatre reviewer in the Glasgow Evening Times in 1982. Now, what's the fucking point of that?
To be fair, he's a dick.
He was a dick. God bless him. But what I'm saying is that I think you get into ideas about yourself and you can get stuck.
Yeah.
And I'm trying not to be stuck. Like my friend who died a couple of years ago, Carrie Fisher, who was a beautiful human being. And Carrie was very clear about, you know, when she was in the metal bikini, you know, being strapped to the side of Jabba the Hutt. She said, you know, I didn't realize then that I was making a deal with the world that I was going to look like that and be the girl in the metal bikini for the rest of my life. Right. And people would, you should say, you know, they don't forgive me for aging. Yeah. Which is such
insane.
It is insane. It is a madness. And the only way that you can
cope with that,
the only way that I feel that I can divorce myself from that is literally divorce myself from that. Like when people say, did you see that thing on the internet? I'm like, no, you can show it to me, but I'm not going to look. I'm not walking around with that fucking sewage pipe in my pocket anymore. I'm just not fucking doing it.
I'm jealous.
Yeah.
I'm jealous that you could put that away.
It takes, I'll be honest with you, and I have some experience in this, there is a withdrawal period to go through.
Sure.
It was, you know, and all the classic symptoms of withdrawal, you know, insomnia, restlessness, irritability, discontent, you know, appetite fluctuations, depression.
Yeah.
All of that shit happened when I came off alcohol, when I came off cigarettes, and when I came off electronic stimulation.
Which was the worst?
Alcohol.
But that also shows
because I really want some.
Yeah. But that also shows you how bad it actually is.
Oh, it's a real thing.
That's,
for me anyway. I don't know about for anyone else, but for me it's a real
who
thing.
is an addict when they withdraw from it, it's the same thing. It's the same symptoms that you go through. At that point, you go, oh, this really is toxic.
It's hugely toxic. You can't. How can you possibly take in all the opinions of everybody around the world at the same time? That's absurd. That's open your mind up to the. It's impossible. Humans can't process that.
I get
Computers
overwhelmed.
Can do it, but I can't do it.
Yeah, we're not. I mean, I can go maybe like when I find myself scrolling through, different sites and social media things, like I'd say 5 minutes tops, and then I start to get anxiety because I'm just like, I just looked at 40 different pieces of information that all like, and I'm trying to take in all of them at the same time for what, like, it's like maybe like.
And it's also it
read one thing at a time.
I mean, I say I'm off it, but here's the thing: I have a Wikipedia app in my phone. Now I came in from Scotland yesterday. I arrived yesterday afternoon. I woke up this morning. I'm a little tired, and I held my hand. And I thought it was shaking a little bit. Is my hand shaking a little bit? And then, so with my hand shaking a little bit, because I probably got a little jet lag, I'm a little dehydrated. I had gone on to Wikipedia and was looking up the symptoms of Parkinson's disease. Now. Which is apparently you start shaking a little bit.
Yeah.
But what I think it is that a little vulture like that lands in your mind, a little piece of shit that lands in your mind before phones, before the smart, before the accessibility of too much information too quickly, you would brush that off and move on with your fucking life. Right. You wouldn't go down that street a little bit and grind that little anxiety into your skull a little more.
Because you're almost like you're almost trying to prove yourself right.
Well, look, at some point sooner or later you're going to be right. You're going to die of something.
Yeah.
So but maybe not today. Maybe not today.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I'm trying to get to.
Was it as exhilarating to be next to The Price is Right as it felt?
That was fun. That was fun.
That's a serious question because I've been to that show. I rushed the stage while I was on a pop brownie on that show in college.
Right.
While Bob Barker was still doing it. Yeah. And I've never felt an energy more electric in a room.
I hosted that for one day.
Yeah.
And if they asked me, the only thing that made me like, I feel like, do you ever see the movie Cat Ballou? Lee Marvin plays a retired gunfighter. He's just a town drunk.
Yeah.
But then there's a big gunfight scene at the end. And, he opens up the suit and he's like got the fancy pistols and the black outfit and all that kind of stuff. And for the big fight, he sobers up and gets in the gunfight. The Price is Right for me is that. Like, I would never go back to fucking doing that shit on TV. But if they said, you want The Price is Right, I'd get the fucking suit.
Get that skinny mic right now.
Yeah. You just get to walk up and go, Caddy.
Yeah, Caddy, you're fired.
Did you have to memorize any of the was there a lot of?
It's trickier than you would think.
Of course.
Actually, yeah. Drew said to me, because Drew and I are still friends.
Yeah.
And he said to me, it's going to be tougher than you think it is. And I'm like, yeah, right, Drew. I think I've seen The Price is Right.
Yeah.
But he's absolutely right. It's actually pretty difficult. You got to keep a lot of plates spinning.
Sure.
Well, even with the name game show, I mean, you're just so. Again, man, you just make people feel good. You have
I'm not doing that anymore.
I know, but I'm saying when you did,
no, making people feel good.
Well,
you will be in April at the Ace Hotel.
Are you going to? You want to come along?
April 4th, we would love to go.
Yeah,
come along.
Yeah,
we'd love to.
Look, it's LA. I've given myself over to like 80% of the audience as a guest list anyway. So fuck it.
Pam Anderson, Wolf Blitzer, Salman
that's
Rushdie.
Right. They'll all be there. Yeah, the monkeys, the ones that are left.
Yeah.
No disrespect.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, and so when you're getting up now for stand-up tours, is this what your life, other than obviously family and friends, but is this what your life is about right now? Is stand-up?
I'm trying to not have plans. I'm putting a new pond in my garden in Scotland, and I'm very excited about that. And that's I'm trying to give that the same amount of attention as I would give, a movie. I hope the pond is better than some of the movies that I've made. But what I mean is, when I started in late night, one of the first questions I get was, "You want to take over from Dave?" I'm like, I just fucking started this job. And every time you guys know this, whenever you're going to promote something, the last thing, or at some point in that interview, somebody will say to you, "What have you got coming up next?
Yeah.
What have you got? Like, what next? What next? What are you going to do next? What are you going to do next?"
My mom just asked me that.
It's funny. Well, my mom used to do that. I remember phoning my mom and saying, "Mom, I'm psychotic with tiredness. I've got too much work." She would say, "Oh, that's a good thing, isn't it? That's a good psychosis from too much work." Like, well, you're fucking sick, man.
That's a good psychosis.
That's a good psychosis. That's good. That means you're working.
No such thing as a good psychosis.
Oh, you're wrong. You're wrong. Protestant psychosis. No one need to know of the agony you're in. But it's kind of interesting. The last time Like the reason I'm in LA right now is the new Dragon movie is coming out. The third Dragon
Yes.
movie. And the last Dragon movie, I was sitting next to. We were doing a press conference, and it was Jerry Butler and me, and then Kit Harington, Jaimin Hansu. I don't know. It was fucking heavy hitters, right? So the Hollywood Foreign Press, who, by the way, the biggest fucking trick ever pulled in Hollywood is the fucking Golden Globes. You know that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
The fact that anybody buys that shit is just proof that people are fucking sheep.
I know, right?
You know, hey, I was waiting to my publicist. But we were doing the Hollywood Foreign Press, and I was saying, like, some guy from the Cairo Penny Saver or something said, Gerard, first go down the line, everybody say what you're going to do next. So Jerry, I've known you for years, right? Jerry Butler says, he goes into this big thing and says, well, I'm going to Australia to shoot Gods of Egypt. It's a movie about the god. And then he goes on for about 25 minutes about this fucking thing. And I was kind of getting a bit bored. Then he said, all right, Craig, what are you going to do next? And I said, I'm thinking of getting a cat. And Jerry said, you fucking bastard. But
Yeah, well,
but what difference does it make?
Yeah,
it doesn't.
Because you know, you don't care what I'm doing next, and to be honest, I don't really care what I'm doing next, as long as it's nothing horrible.
Yeah.
I'm fine.
yeah, and I mean, everyone says live in the moment, and then they ask you stuff like that, where it's
Right.
like, hey, well, what's
Right.
next? What's next? What's next?
Well, I think that it's also difficult to interview people, especially when you get tired of them.
Yeah.
You know, and I've seen people glaze over when I'm talking, like now.
You know, were you?
But you know when, like, if you do a red carpet thing or something, and somebody asks you a question, and they're not even looking at you, and they're waiting to see if they can get Matt Damon or whoever else is coming down.
How do you handle that?
The
Well,
few
you just-
red carpets I've done, that's happened many times.
Right.
So I'm like, I get it, I'm tiny, you're looking over me, but fuck.
Yeah,
Just
dude.
make eye
Wait,
contact
they're
for
looking
like
up.
2 seconds.
But that's only an illustration
Yeah.
of what the toxic. See, I don't think show business is toxic. I just think, and I don't even think the media is toxic. I just think that certain people lose the plot a little bit. Like, if you're always looking at something that's not here, then you're not here.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, though. It seems to me at the age of 56, I'm beginning to realize there will be time when I am not here. So I'd
Yeah.
like to be here now.
I think
Right.
I do think that is something that we all struggle with, like looking past and not trying to, soak up right now. And that question that you just mentioned that's coming to you, like, what's your next thing? Like, I'm curious about Riding the Elephant for you, but what's your next book, Craig? When's your
I'm writing a book right now.
Are you really?
Yeah. I'm writing a book right now, and I like doing that because, I'm not completely well, and the thing is, if you write a book, you're in charge. It's a world where you're in control, and that's the only one where I am in control.
Yeah.
Well, the book is Riding the Elephant.
Out May 7th.
May 7th.
Go get it.
And
Barnes and Noble is the
and then of course
Amazon.
go see Craig when he's doing live stand up.
Well,
Craig
you
Ferguson.
guys will be there.
Yeah, we're going
Yeah,
for
all
sure.
right. You'll be just ring this podcast to everybody, and we'll put you on the guest
Yeah.
list. Apparently.
Just hit Craig up on social media. He's very active.
Well, no, the thing is, I do have a Twitter account, but my tour manager Tomas does all the tweets.
Yeah.
But he's from the Czech Republic.
Yeah.
So it's so English is not his first language. So
That's
he's
amazing.
like very excited to be playing in your town. People are like, wow, Craig's really
All right.
dry these days.
Well, when you send him a tweet, say something disparaging about the Czech Republic.
TheCraigFergusonShow.com/tour. Riding the Elephant out May 7th. Pumped to see you do stand up.
Yeah, come along. It's a pretty decent show. I think.
You're one of the best, of course. How long have you been working on this particular set?
Since September.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's September of last year. I think it's in pretty decent shape. I enjoy it. It's an hour and a half. Just me. It's just no
opener or anything.
No, just like fucking walk like Tyson in the black shorts here.
Yeah.
Just fucking out. Boom. Do it. Fuck it. That's it.
I like that.
How much will you get up between now and that show?
I won't at all.
You won't.
No, so that'll put a little edge on it for me.
You like that though, yeah?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Hey, look, I'm only going to talk. Is that thing Leno said? Just keep talking. They don't know the fucking material. Just keep fucking talking. They don't know
talking.
Yeah,
You don't know.
They don't fucking know. They don't fucking know if you missed the joke. They're like, what are you? Are they in the room when you fucking write it? They don't fucking know. Just keep talking.
Kevin Eubanks might know.
Yeah. It's so funny because I adore Jay. You know Jay?
Yeah.
What a fucking guy.
Yeah.
He's a lot of it. There's a strange individual, but I adore him. Yeah.
What a pro.
Yeah.
Did you know him in the stand-up ranks when we were no?
No. He thinks we're the same age, but he's like 15 years older than me. He's a fucking lunatic.
Craig, you're the man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm a man. Hey, I think what I'm saying is I'm cisgender. I think that's what you're saying.
You heard it here first in the About Last Night podcast.
It's about last night.